let them know of the event.
All right, guys, I'm recording locally and I'm going to start letting people in. We've got
Okay,
5 people in the waiting room.
awesome.
There we go. Good afternoon. Buenas tardes, everybody. We're just going to wait a few more minutes, let a few people join us. Leonard, Dylan, is that you? Hey, guys.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're under my younger son's title because we're using his laptop from his schooling. He's under Chris.
Oh,
That's fine.
okay.
That's fine. Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's fine. Sorry, I thought you guys were one of the guests in the
yeah.
waiting room.
No.
Yeah, that's
So,
Leonard and Chris and Dylan.
yeah.
Cool.
So the name Chris is my youngest. We're using his laptop that he uses for his distance learning. So I apologize for that.
All
No,
good.
no worries, Leonard. It's finally good to see you face to face.
Yes, sir, Frank.
All right. So let's go ahead and start this off. I'd like to welcome everyone. You know, this is first time back since a little sabbatical. I've had a show Es Tiempo with Frank. Show was in September, and my colleague Carlos, he's celebrating his new baby, so you know, a sabbatical, and wishing him great luck with his baby that was just born a couple of weeks ago. And I see a lot of friends here, Ed Vargas, Eduardo, and many others. So first time back in a few months, and so today's show is going to be really great. It's Latinx persevering through this pandemic, and you know, especially with 2021, this first week started off rough, but as Latinos, not only do we know how to persevere, but we have resiliency within us that we continue to push through. And once again, my name is Frank Carbajal. I'm a founder of Es Tiempo LLC, the founder of the Silicon Valley Latino Leadership Summit. And I'm very honored that my co-host, Jesus Ferreyra, will be introducing himself and providing a background of his business as well. He's also an entrepreneur. Jesus.
Thank you, Frank, and thank you, everybody. Buenas tardes for making time to be here virtually. It's been a crazy, unprecedented week during already crazy times. So we truly appreciate all of you. Like Frank said, my name's Jesus, and I'm the founder of MSC, which is an apparel brand for our Latinx community. And the goal of the community is to bring experienced and early career Latinos together to help each other professionally, as well as to inspire others by sharing our just honest and raw experiences. So it's a lot deeper than just t-shirts. As we all know, Latinos are less than 8% of Silicon Valley's workforce, depending on who you ask. I want our community to change that. So this is kind of like the merchandise that supports the community and our mission. A little bit about me though, before any of that, I started picking oranges when I was 4 years old, all the way up until I transferred from community college. I was 20 by the last time I did that. I'm DACA and the oldest of 3 in a migrant farm working family. I was only a year old when I came to California. And we ended up settling in Visalia. So that's in Central California, kind of by the Fresno area. Many of my friends as adults started getting into some serious trouble. Some of them ended up in prison, and I lost a few. So I left because I just knew there weren't many opportunities at that time for dreamers like me. So school was my way out. I moved to San Jose after I was accepted to San Jose State's aerospace program. And I started working as soon as I moved. My parents couldn't afford to help me, and my scholarships weren't enough. Eventually, I did drop out, and I ended up actually working my way up in banking. It took a few years, but I landed my dream job at a fintech startup in Palo Alto and left it a few months ago in August and decided to take what I learned there, my experience, and do what I'm doing now. So obviously, like Frank said, we're talking about importance of education and perseverance in the Latino community. I can't speak to the experience of completing your degree, but I can tell you all about how difficult it is to even get your foot in the door without one. So that's a little bit about me. Again, thank you all for joining us today. At the end of the Zoom, I'll share a discount code for 20% off anything if anyone would like to support. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn things over now to the first of our guests, which is Leonard Lopez.
Yes, yes. So Leonard, you will introduce yourself a couple of minutes, and then your son, and then from there, I'll ask the first question to you, Leonard, and then to Dylan, and going back to you, Leonard. And we're very excited because a father-son championship, I call this, because you both are champions in our eyes and in the community's eyes. So, Leonard.
So Frank, just real quick. So just a quick introductory. Do you want me to go ahead and do the bio right now?
Quick introductory, and then I'll ask you the first question.
Perfect. So my name is I'm actually Leonardo Lopez, and I'm born and raised in Los Angeles, and I've been in the education profession now since 1996, which puts me at about 24 years, going into my 25th year this coming year around. So very, very fortunate, and very happy and excited to be invited here today.
That's awesome. And Dylan, let's hear where you're at and where you were born.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, my name is Dylan Lopez. I was born in Bellflower, California, but we live over here in Eastville, California now. I'm a junior at Rancho Verde High School. Part of like the scholars program over there, also part of like Link Crew leadership program over there and stuff. And I'm on the football team. I've just kind of always grown up around sports. I played football, basketball, and baseball, and youth stuff. And so yeah, at Rancho, I play football. I also do shot put and discus for track and field and stuff. So I've always grown up around sports and just kind of have like a love for them now. And yeah, now it's finally paying off and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great, Dylan. I know I always share when I do public speaking that sports is what saved my life. In high school, I ran track. I did the 400 and the 800. The 800, I made it to state level. A minute and 51 seconds. I'm very proud of that. And people ask, well, what was the secret sauce? I said frijoles and beans, all the way, right? And
so Leonard, we're going to start with you.
This is, like I said, a really rough week. And what I think about is equity. What could you say about your belief in the educational system today? And why is education an equalizer for the Latinx community?
Okay, no, sure. As the experienced principal, I ran into this challenge, several times now. And, one of the things that's really important to understand is that, you can't have equity without equality first. And so when you look at equality, you're trying to give everybody access, because that's the door opener. Once you open up the door, you got to look at the programs that impact, especially our Latinx community, our English learners program, which I had to revamp because, quick experience, you get 20 students that are white in a classroom, but you only have 5 Latinos. Sure, you provided equal access to those high-level AP courses, but when you look back at the program, what's preventing more equity, where we can balance the number of students in that classroom, where it could be now 12 and 12 or 15 and 15, then you got to look. I had to look at the program, and our program was not being led by the appropriate credentialed teacher that can expand and make sure that those kids were being provided the access, the equity access to get into those higher level classes. So to me, that's the key role of an educational leader when you are in a high population of Latinx students, especially here in California. So you got to provide the equality first, everybody has an opportunity, but then you got to look at your programs to provide that equity.
That's excellent. And we're so proud that, you're one of the superintendents down in Southern California, and you're a great role model. And I always say education is the equalizer, and I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
And Dylan, you have a great role model, your dad sitting next to you. And when was it that you figured your passion for football? At what age? Because, you're a star football player, but at the same time, how do you balance football and your education?
Yeah, so I think growing up, football was always like on the TV when it was like season and stuff. Like every weekend, like around season, like we always had football on and all that. I remember watching, USC, Michigan, Syracuse, like all those games, like from morning to night. Those games are always on. So I wouldn't even ask my dad. My dad would just always mention to me, like, that's gonna be you one day. You're like, that's your path to success. Like, that's how you're gonna get your education. Like, getting a scholarship. So that idea was instilled in me like really early. And obviously, growing up, I started to understand it more. But it was always like instilled in me, like, yeah, like, that's going to be my goal. I'm striving for that. And so obviously at a young age, like I liked football. I liked all the sports and stuff, but my passion and my love for the game didn't come until I got older, probably like middle school or going into high school, is when I truly saw like, dang, like, I have a passion for it.
Right.
So and that passion, that love is still it's still, growing to this day, because I'm still learning more about the game, learning more about just everything that, all the little ins and outs of not just the game, but also outside the game, so
yeah.
So yeah, I think ever, since then, it's just continued to grow. And then I think time management is obviously always key when it comes down to managing, high level sports with school and academics and all that, and just finding your median. Because I think obviously, I'm still like a regular kid that needs his free time for video games and hanging out with his friends and stuff. So just being able to just time manage and know, and kind of just prioritize and know myself, like know myself and know, like, the environment around me. And just being able to fit time in for schoolwork and working out and stuff, and also be able to hang out. So
excellent. And your dad, Leonard, you mentioned something very important as far as equality before equity, and equality is so important. But let me ask you about the narrative, because I'm also, just like you, English as a second language. I remember entering kindergarten, and this was you and I are right around the same age, where I was held back because I didn't speak English. Could you believe that? I mean, I was just as intelligent as our counterpart kids there in the classroom, and it really has a lot to do with losing that confidence. But at the same time, you have parents like our parents that are resilient, that came to this country with that tenacity. How can we work with allies so that they could understand that we're changing the narrative?
Yeah.
We're changing the narrative. What do you think?
Yeah, well, it starts with schools that are, so in my professional education, I believe that it starts with building partnerships with schools that transition into where those skills that you're developing, especially for the Latinx community, transfer over to a partnership within the communities, between the school districts and the schools, with those partnerships, developing internships. I'll share with you a quick story. So when I was the principal of Serrano High School up in the Victorville area in Southern California, it's the highway that takes you down to Las Vegas. It's the high desert. But in that high desert, they had a program, they had an aeronautics program where they were looking for people who wanted to get into learning how to program and navigate drones for the military. And I was one of the first to jump in and offer that as a career technical education option for those students who maybe not ready for college, but wanted to get into something that they felt important. So I was part of a committee with the High Desert Victor Valley Community College and developed that partnership, that graduation to an internship with Ambry Riddle with the military bases, with the certification coming from Victorville. So it really does take it really is important for schools not to wait, but to be the ones out there building those partnerships. Because so very often schools don't go out to build. They just want to prepare kids through their academics, but not really be out there working on behalf of the students that they're preparing for schooling and for technical education programs. And they really don't go out and build those partnerships. And those partnerships exist. I mean, I'm giving you the example of Victorville, but those partnerships exist here in the community that we live in the Corona, in the Riverside County area. And so that's the way I see my role, is in the role of future educational leaders, is to build those. Don't wait. Go out and reach out and build those partnerships.
That's excellent. Yeah, I have a dear friend, Antonio Tejerino, the CEO of Hispanic Heritage Foundation, and he says it's more than just networking. It's about building relationships and partnerships. And that is profound. And last question for your son, Dylan, before we go to Jesus. And Jesus is going to spend the next 15 minutes with our other two guests, Lory and Andrew, and then we'll take it to the audience. But Dylan, you know, I'm a huge football fan. We got a big, playoff weekend. My team's the 49ers. We'll be there next year. But I know that when I was a kid, your dad and I, I'm sure we looked up to a person like Anthony Munoz, and the 49ers played Anthony Munoz's Bengals in our first Super Bowl. And Munoz was really that anchor of that offensive line and a superstar out of USC. And so for the audience, you got accepted to commit to Syracuse, to Arizona State, to Oregon State, and all these great football programs. Why did you commit to USC, one of the greatest football programs in the nation? And how is that commitment sticking to you today under this pandemic?
Oh yeah, I think the biggest reason was just kind of like, the state of where we're at right now in Southern California with football and stuff. Obviously, this past fall, we didn't have a season because of COVID and all that, and it's just it was obviously it's real sad because the situation we're in right now, but that kind of pushed me to commit, because I knew that I'd be for sure like securing a spot, like you said, at a top university like USC. So that was a big thing. But I think the university itself just checks off all the boxes, not just for football, but also for the education and academic side of it. Be able to go in there, get a degree in those 4 or 5 years that I have that scholarship, and be able to play football at a school that's, like you said, like top in the nation. So I think just those reasons in itself, obviously our future is uncertain when it comes down to not just high school football, but college football too, because of COVID right now. And so I think the biggest thing was just trying to make sure I secure a spot.
And I'm so proud of you, man. Everyone, he's 6'3", 285 pounds, and that is pro football material. So your dad's going to keep you focused, my man. He's going to keep you on track. So with that, I appreciate Leonard and Dylan. And now we'll go to Jesus. And for the next 15 minutes, he'll spend with our two other great speakers, Lory and Andrew.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So Leonard and Dylan, hang in, because the second half, we're going to have questions from the audience. Okay? Cool.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Jesus, take it away.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Leonard. Thank you, Dylan. It's very, really cool to see Latinos in football, for sure. I would like to introduce now Lory and Andrew. What I really admire about Lory and Andrew, we have something really important to me that we have in common, is that all three of us actually grew up in communities where farming was like the only option for Latinos. From an early age, it was, you're going to school or you're going to do this. A lot of times both. So have my experiences and I really like their story. So I'll turn things over to Lory.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lory Ruelas, and a little bit about me is that I grew up in Lodi, California. If anybody knows where it's at, it's really tiny. It's pretty much in between Stockton and Sacramento, and there's only 3 exits to get there. So when I went to Lodi High, that was my small little community that I knew, and I graduated in 2009. But right before graduation, all through high school, actually all elementary, all middle school, all high school, I was an avid student. And that is meant to help you get ready for college, right? So I was taking the AP classes. I graduated my last semester. I got a 4.0 from my last year in high school. I passed AP Spanish, AP Economics. I was basically that student that had everything lined up to go to college. And I come to find out when I want to try to get a license or when I want to apply for FAFSA, I don't have a social security number. That's because I was born in Mexico. So I was born in Culiacan, Sinaloa, and I came over at 2 years old. So I didn't even realize I was born in Mexico, as funny as that sounds. But when I found out that I didn't have a social, I couldn't qualify for FAFSA. I was very lucky to have a teacher, an AVID, that said, well, just do scholarships. And so then my full-time job was doing scholarships in high school and college. So I was very blessed to go to Sac State straight out of high school. I didn't apply to community college because I had a 3-year scholarship from General Mills. And that's kind of what gave me the push to go straight into a 4-year university. And while I was in college, I got DACA my 3rd year. And that was a game changer because the whole time I had gone to college, I honestly didn't have a plan. All I knew was that I wanted to go to school and I wanted to get my bachelor's. That was really important to me. And the 3rd year when I was there is when I got DACA. And I remember praying, if I just could have a social security number, I could work. And when that came 3rd year in college, I hit the ground running. So I graduated a year after that. And my first job, my first official job out of college, like benefits, 401ks, like all that fun stuff, was in San Francisco at Lending Club. And from there, I made some different career choices. I went back to Central Valley to be a project manager, flipping homes. And I became director of a gym right after that. And now I'm a project manager in a media company. So I wanted to share a little bit my story because I was that person at 16 years old that I was going against all odds. I pretty much didn't have a social security number. I grew up in a single family, single parent. My mom was a single parent. I was Latina and I was female. And I share that because those are the words or the description that a counselor in Lodi High gave me. And I remember being so mad because I was like, I came in there happy one day as a junior in high school. And she said, well, you're en route to go to community college. And I remember feeling so like unappreciated. I said, no, I'm en route to go to a 4-year college. So it doesn't matter what labels other people gave you or what situation you're in. I just want to remind people that it's your grit and your perseverance that can get you out of situations, but it does require a village because I earned over $25,000 in scholarships from private organizations, from leaders in the community. It wasn't by myself. So that's a little bit about me. I'll be turning 30 in 2 days, and I feel like the past 15 years have been a roller coaster, but I can confidently say that it worked out well. And I'm very grateful for all the opportunities that I have. And that's why I want to give back by speaking and sharing my story.
Yep, I feel that I resonate with just the document part of it. You know, people take that for granted. I couldn't get a license either when I graduated. I mean, and I have friends that they're 21, 20 plus, and they didn't get a license. And I'm like, dude, if I could, I would have gotten one the day I turned 18. I would have gotten one sooner. But yeah, it's funny. And then, you know, we have people that get fake IDs so they can buy beer. I had to get one to work.
Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it definitely does take a village. And I think a little bit more than that, it takes, you know, people believing in you You know, if
Mm-hmm.
the right person believes in you, you can end up believing in yourself. Because really, the older that I get, the more I realize that I'm not that special. I've just had certain people help me, certain decisions that I made, just a handful in my life that, like you, have given me the opportunity to live out to more of my potential. But, you know, it takes believing in yourself. And sometimes in order to do that, others have to believe in you.
Definitely.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and turn things over to my boy Andrew. He just started a new position recently with Lyft. Go for it.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you, Jesus. Frank, thank you both of you guys for hosting this. And I just want to say thank you guys before we start off here. But my name is Andrew Murguia. I am from a small city called Santa Maria, California, where it's primarily all agricultural Hispanic background. I went to a university called Cal Lutheran University. I went there only for 2 years. I started off at a community college beginning there. I wanted to play soccer. That was my main focus to go to school was I want to play soccer, and this is the only thing I want to do. And that drove me forward to wanting to go through education. If it wasn't for soccer to get me to my university, I probably would have ended up just working a normal job in the city. But now I'm working as an operations manager here at Lyft for autonomous vehicles. Literally, probably a dream job that most people would say. And for myself, this is just the beginning. As for my background, when I was 18 years old, I knew that I needed to figure out how to pay for school. I needed to figure out how I was going to come up with the money and figure out what was my path. So I created a clothing company called Street Knowledge Clothing Co. It blew up. It was all over. A lot of rappers, whatever you want to call them, recording artists. I put them on baseball players, soccer players, professional players all over the place. Even though that was a cool thing to interact with, that wasn't my end goal. What I really wanted was to match up professionals, and then a lot of my friends, I wanted them to be able to speak to each other and just have a mentorship. So I created a mentorship through Street Knowledge Clothing Co. And I was able to match, I want to say, a dozen or more people just to figure out what they wanted to do growing up. As an 18-year-old kid and having friends that didn't know what they wanted to do, I was exposed to so many variants of what career paths can be taken, no matter what your ethnicity is. As we are all Hispanic in this call, or some type of heritage here, and I want to tell you guys that just because we have that, I consider it more of an opportunity than anything. When my grandparents came here, they had the thought process of, okay, I want my kids to be good, and then I want their kids to be even better. And that's what I'm trying to live up to. So my grandparents came when in the 60s, and then my dad was born here in the United States, and I was born after that, correct? So with that happening, I knew to myself, all of these steps have been taken through my family. I need to be the first person that goes to college. I need to be the first person that just leads the way for my family and people around me to know that things are achievable. We can do things without having money or any other type of ways of doing stuff. We have to have the resourcefulness, which as Latinos, we all know we are probably the most resourceful people out there. And that's what I want to kind of bring to this conversation. And I want people to know that we can obviously do a lot more than we thought we could do. I obviously did not know that Silicon Valley was going to be so tough to break into. But I had a friend that I met at Cal Lutheran that is also Latino, that is his first job coming out of school was at Google as a recruiter. He is a fantastic person that actually helped me come and put my foot in the door at a startup. I started up as a receptionist. I said, you know what? I don't care what I have. I just need to know that I need to be here because I know where I want to get to. I started there. I got laid off about 5 months in. That is a totally different story that I don't want to get too far into, but it actually opened up a whole new door for me to be able to get into the operations area. 3.5 years later, I am now in a facilities operations manager for autonomous vehicles. And I feel like that by itself is a feat. I am only 26 years old. So for myself, I feel like I've been accomplishing a million things in a row, but you know what, like exactly what you said, Jesus, I'm nobody special. I just had a village around me like Lory said, that needed to help me get here, right? But it takes the person within you to get where you want to go. You have to have the vision of where you want to be, and if you vision yourself there, you're gonna get there. Especially if you put yourself around people that have the same mindset and growth mindset that you want to have. That's kind of what I want to bring to this conversation. There's a million things I could probably throw out there. Lory, I am also an avid person from high school. Actually, this is probably going to be bad to say. I got kicked out of avid because of my grades. But because of that, what that little bit of happening, I knew it kind of kicked me in the butt, saying I got to do things a little bit different than what I'm doing them now. I'm not going to be on the soccer team in high school if I don't have the grades. So I kicked it up. I got myself back into order, and hey, let me tell you, a million things can be pressed onto you. People can tell you you're this, and that, but at the end of the day, you have to show them who you are, and basically just do it for yourself. You got to be the person that you want to be and just show up for yourself. Yeah.
Yep, that's right. Awesome. Thank you both.
Yeah.
All right, Frank. Do you have any questions for Lory or Andrew, or
You
would
know,
like to turn
yeah,
things over?
Lory, share with us a little bit about Lodi. Lodi is a great place, and I know I spoke with Jesus about this last week, and it's just interesting how there's wealth in Lodi with vintners and wineries, and then the working class and migrant workers, like how my parents came to the U.S. What kept you focused, and who were some of your mentors along the way?
Yeah, that's a good question. So that's actually very true. Even in high school, it was a parent who was the children who were the children of the owners, because they had the
Yes.
BMWs and they had the name brand stuff. And in all honesty, like my mom was a single mom, so I was wearing just not bad clothes. You know, she did all she could, but I didn't have the name brands. So it was definitely different. Just like there was a point made earlier, like in AP classes, I definitely stood out too. It was like me and my two friends, or just me by myself. So the wealth difference was noticeable. I think one thing that really kept me aligned with knowing that that was just a situation for that time frame. I didn't think that my whole life was going to be like that. Was Avid and the teachers that I had there. Because the projects in Avid were visiting colleges. So I knew there was a world bigger than Lodi. Like when I went to visit University of Southern California or East Bay or Stanislaus, I remember thinking like, that's my golden ticket. Like if I go to college, it'll be acceptable for me to move and do all of these things. When you don't know that world is not there, you can't strive for that, you know? So I was very fortunate that in 7th grade, I was an Avid. My teacher, Erishan Tillett, when she kind of got me in like speech and debate. So then I also ended up doing speech and debate competitions in high school, and I would visit other colleges and I would visit other cities. So that's how I knew that Lodi was not the only lifestyle or the only city to live in. And I had this vision that I wanted to be in a big city, and LA would have been a good option, but it was 6 hours away. So when I went to Sacramento State, I said, okay, I could transition here. And then I went bigger to San Francisco. At one point, my mom said, "You just keep going bigger, bigger. I think you're gonna end up in New York." So
There you go. There you go.
yeah, I think it's being aware.
Yeah, and as a first generation professional, those are the places you get to do your business trips. Back post COVID, you'll get back to travel when everything's safe. Okay, and before we go to the audience, I'd like to ask Andrew, because Andrew's story is very like Jesus, very inspirational in terms of age and being 26, where you had mentioned something that is incredible. And I would think of Dylan, Dylan being 16, 17 years of age. What is it 26 and how you could help the Generation Z, Andrew?
Yeah. What I really want to say to that is I have a brother that's kind of in your same footsteps there, Dylan. And what I really tell them is just kind of what you really want to do is open up your network. What I really didn't know when I was younger was I thought to myself, I need to focus on myself. I need to read as many books as I can do, or I need to just focus on myself only, until I started realizing, other people know other people, and those people can put your foot in the door. And that, after realizing that, I started utilizing that as much as I possibly could. That's why I created the brand I created, so I can myself learn about what other people do. I would have never known this whole world was out here without having to know other people. Exactly how Lory said, if you don't know what's out there, you don't know what you basically don't know. And it's tough to know that you need to kind of like tell people, hey, can you please help me? And a lot of those people will say, yeah, actually, yes, I could help you. And a lot of people, and most people do want to do that. Most people want to help other people get to where they want to be just because of their own self gratification, and knowing that they helped you get to there. It's an awesome ecosystem that you want to create around yourself. And it doesn't just have to be with your friends. It could be with your friends' parents. It could be with people that you don't know. And usually the people that you don't know are the people that are going to help you. That's another little token that I kind of started realizing was the people that are kind of outside of your circle are more of the people that want to invest in you, and you just got to take that chance. You'll never be ready for that promotion. You just got to be ready to take it. That's bottom line.
Excellent, excellent. So before we go to the audience for questions, I just want to read a couple of facts that two dear friends shared. Cal, my Sikh brother from another mother, as we say, as good friends. That soccer saved his life, soccer saved my life. And another brother from another mother, a good friend, Ed Vargas, who talks about Bellarmine. Bellarmine is a preparatory school in San Jose. And believe it or not, Dylan, you've probably heard of Bellarmine, has a great football program, but that high school is tougher to get into than Stanford University or Harvard. And it's because Leonard, what we talked about in terms of equity and equality, the equality doesn't come before the equity for Bellarmine. So Ed Vargas, he changed that narrative by being one of the first Mexican Americans to attend that high school, and went on to law school. So we're proud of Ed, and this is what we're about, right, Jesus? We're really about, creating that narrative that is for all of us. With that, Jesus, please moderate any questions coming in from the audience. So Jesus, if you see any questions coming in, please go to the audience and feel free to repeat them.
Definitely. All right, so if anyone has any questions, go ahead and submit them in the chat. In the meantime, I'd also like to echo that I too was an avid student, but only as a senior, because I wanted them to help me with my college applications and scholarships and all that. I think a couple of people have touched on this already, but other people can help you expand your world. I kind of stumbled onto my path. I knew that there was more in the world, and I needed to find out what that was, because I knew that my tiny 500 person town wasn't it. It just wasn't it for me. And I was actually pretty good at school. School was easy compared to the rest of my life. School had a structure. I go, someone tells me what to read, what to do, and I get a test on exactly that. And so it's easy. So if I use school as my opportunity to basically expand my world, and from there, just a lot of Latino grit and resourcefulness. All right, there's a question here from Ana Lopez, thank you. And this is for Lory, Andrew, and myself. Were any of us migrant ed program? I was not. How about you guys, Lory, Andrew?
I was not, and reason being, even though my mom worked like the seasonal cherry packaging and fields, is the answer I got at Sac State was if it was federally funded in any way, then I could not apply, going back to I didn't have a social. So while Sac State students, they did have a migrant aid program, and they would get like a stipend, I think like $500, maybe $1,000 for items and priority in classes. I couldn't qualify because I didn't have a social, and anything that comes from the federal, potentially even state funding, they didn't approve it back in the day. That was like 2009.
And I was not a migrant education program either. Actually, in 5th grade, I was in a program called GATE, which was primarily for Latinos as well. Kind of going forward from that, that's going to help me get into AVID. And then that helped me get my butt kicked to know, like, hey, you got to go to school, man. So that's kind of the category I fell into.
I actually was a migrant ed student and a proud Hall of Fame Eastside graduate. I was inducted into the Eastside Hall of Fame a few years ago, and it had a lot to do with being a migrant ed student. And I remember feeling like a foreigner at a school in East San Jose because my parents, as migrant workers, they transitioned to canneries, and canneries were outsourced to the Central Valley, and then now I don't even know if they exist. But yeah, I was a migrant ed student and proud of it. All right. Any Jesus? Any other ones?
I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't migrant ed specifically, but I did belong to a lot of organizations. I can't remember at this point, but the one that for sure helped a lot was AVID, like I said, because I knew that I'm a slacker, and they make you apply for colleges, they make you apply for scholarships and for all these other things. So it was like, cool, like I get credits and I get to do something that's good for myself.
Great. Any questions coming in? If not, I could ask a question, and then we could end off this great show, this great first show in the new year. It's great to start a new year with optimism and tenacity that we are of folks that never give up. And anything?
I got a question for kind of everybody that's actually on this call here. So 2020 was pretty crazy, right? Everybody, something happened to everybody, right? I mean, a little bit of either happened to your family, to your career, however it was. So planning is a little bit different in my eyes for moving forward. So for you guys, how do you guys look forward to planning your 2021, and what are the goals that you guys think that would be the best thing that moves you forward from this point forward? Whether it's a personal aspect, whether it's a career aspect, you guys can go however you guys want to, but exactly, just how do you guys plan forward for something that is so uncertain as in 2021?
Well, I'll start. And I was just thinking about a couple of days ago when there was a post that I shared earlier today on hardworking Latino with his business cart in front of Capitol Hill when they were storming, the folks from that assaulted, the Capitol a few days on January 6th. And this Latino man, in chaos, he stayed focused. He was working as an entrepreneur to help feed his family. And I correlate that to the chaos that I grew up under in terms of the circumstances where I grew up. I grew up in a barrio where there was gangs, there was a lot of activity going on. And my parents, always hardworking immigrants, kept us focused, kept us, the eye on the prize. Just remember, anything is possible with an education, but at the same time, if there's things happening around you, stay focused, stay in your lane, stay zoned in. So for me, it's interesting because I could take on a couple of projects, but at the same time, be grateful that my parents took on a few projects that weren't projects, but that were about surviving. And so it's really a pandemic and under COVID-19 that we're all resilient, and I understand how to plan because I just draw back from how my parents raised me.
Yeah, I'll go next. Yeah, my upbringing, my community was a little hectic. Even though it's a small town, it was crazy. But whenever I deal with uncertainty, I've learned that it's all within me. So I don't necessarily look for anything external anymore. It's within me. And the reason that I finally was able to internalize that, I know everyone says it, it's super cliche. Oh, it's all on you. It's all on you. You've got what it takes. But
Mhm.
I never internalized it until actually only maybe about a year ago. When I started my previous job at a fintech, I hadn't even applied because I figured that they would never take me. First of all, I didn't even know that Silicon Valley was a thing until I moved there. And I only moved there because I had a job. I, like Lory, wanted to go to LA. So I ended up in San Jose bitterly, but I was there. And then I saw for myself, like, wow, there's enormous opportunity here, but it's not for me. It's not for people like me. And then I just had a friend that got a job, and he kept telling me, like, hey man, we were bankers, and he ended up getting hired there. And he kept telling me, like, dude, like you've got what it takes. Like you understand finance better than most of these people here. Like you know how to read all this. Like you should apply. And here's a little interesting fact that I realized. I had to apply twice, and it took them a year to give me a chance. And
Wow.
it took my friend to basically prove himself before they took his recommendation seriously, because there were other colleagues that had made other recommendations that had been hired. But once I was in, I was like, you know what, like I'm here, I'm just grateful. I still have that mentality of I should just be thankful for what I've got. Some of my colleagues like, oh, I don't like this snack, I don't like that, like this chair is uncomfortable. I'm like, dude, you're giving me a computer, this is awesome, And so I was super appreciative, and I was answering people at 3 a.m. I was responding to emails and messages on Slack. And, I was that guy. And once I got there, it was like, wow, all of these amazing people, they're super respectable. I admire them, but I'm doing just as good, if not better than them, and I'm definitely more committed. Because I've come from nothing, and to me this is something so new. Why aren't there more Latinos like this? How can I help other Latinos get here with me? So this is why we're doing this. And if anybody in the audience knows any young Latinos that need to expand their mind or want to know about other people that have gone through maybe some of the things they're going through now, definitely invite them to the next session. And this is being recorded, so we'll also share that. Go ahead and share it with them. So
yeah, I would, if I can answer part of Andrew's question with what to kind of do with COVID and everything. So when I was in college and dealing with a lot of no's, right? Because you try to ask, can I join this program? No. Can I take this internship? No. So there was a point in college where my mind just switched, and I learned to do a list. This is the problem. This is the solution. And that's how I see the world, So I think approaching COVID, I lost a job and things like that as well. So I said, this is the problem. This is the solution, right? There's only two ways. You can stay home and start thinking about, well, this is what I had before. This is what I know. Or you can adapt. I instantly realized, wait a minute, a lot of things are going virtual. A lot of companies may see operations a little bit more important than another role, right? Not that any role is better or worse, it's that you adapt, right? So just like in college, I adapted to the route where I could find a solution. In COVID, I'm doing the same thing. So one of the things that I instantly learned was you have to be known on the internet. It's no longer just like you go into an office. My life has been virtual ever since I lost the last job in February. So now I'm in a company that's all virtual assistants, virtual meetings, virtual everything, And even now I'm even learning, how can I have a voice virtually? So one of the things that I gave myself a project to look forward to is a podcast launch. So I'm over here staying up at night learning, how do I set up a podcast? How do I do a video? That's not my forte. My degree was in business, and I have sales skills and I have in-person skills, but I had to start YouTubing. How can I make this or this happen? So that's been my approach to COVID. It's like staying sane and staying proactive at home. And if you do miss that interaction with humans, then make it happen like this. Just how Jesus and Frank, they brought us all together. This is the opportunity where you can connect with people from all over the world. You know, I started a mentorship, and there was a girl from my sorority. She was in Japan, and we were having weekly meetings. And I said, how come I didn't know that you were in Japan? And we had never connected. It started right around COVID, right around April, that I did a weekly call with sorority sisters. And that gave me sanity, and that gave me a little bit of assurance, like, hey, I'm not connected in person, but virtually, what can we do? What can we transform, and what can we create? So this conversation here happened probably because of COVID, you know?
One thing that I've really noticed about kind of our background is primarily Hispanics love to be safe. The risk factor is kind of tough to handle a little bit for some people, because a lot of people, we grew up with nothing, or at least with myself, I grew up, man, that's a different story to grow up to give you guys there. But the biggest thing for myself is the flick of the switch there was, I need to take a risk, and the risk needs to be worth it. How am I going to make that risk worth the next step for myself? And I feel like that's kind of answering your question there, Jesus, was how do we get more people, more Latinos to come out and do more things than just what's in front of them, right? It's honestly just a risk factor. We have to take the risk to be able to get to where we want to get to. And if we don't take that thing, we're just going to be stagnant. And for myself, being stagnant is almost like an illness for myself. I just feel uneasy, and I need to be moving forward. And being able to put that into other people, that's what we want to do here, right? That's what this conversation is about, is to instill a passion and a risk factor for people to take, because all of us are here to help each other. We're a big trampoline to launch people into their careers. And that's what I'm looking to do. And if we can all do that even a little bit more, just, hey, one extra person a week, one person a month, just be like, hey, join this conversation. And I hope you learn something from it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that is the goal.
Let's finish off with Chris and Dylan. What do you think? I mean, Dylan and Leonard.
Yeah, you know, if one of the things that we were able to deal with COVID here in terms of, you know, I think one of the words you used, Frank, when you first invited me and you kind of were developing the theme was, you know, there was a word in there called perseverance. And, you know, this is why, you know, we as Latinos are much, in some ways, much more equipped to persevere, because we know the background of our folks, our parents, and the struggles, and then within ourselves. Even though I didn't grow up in Central California, I grew up in South LA. I was an English learner, different environment, but just coming home every day, seeing my folks, you know, making ends meet, trying their best to make sure that we were well equipped to go to school. You know, when COVID hit, to me, it was not so much more at that point persevering. It was more like, okay, this is plan B now. This is an opportunity to reconnect with you, to stay connected and reconnect more with your family. And so I was able to really take advantage of this time to really see hand in hand my kids when I wake up and go to work, they're still barely waking up. So, you know, being able to wake up with them and see what they're doing with their schoolwork, being able to assist them and actually develop a exercise plan, which I've been really fortunate to implement with my two sons, my oldest boys, and we've been working out now together for 8 months, because the big guy here, he needs to stay in shape because he's already committed to USC. So just that bond that I never thought I would have before COVID, because, you know, we go about our day-to-day business. It really gave me the opportunity to get to know who my kids are and how they're growing up and what their interests are and what they like. Because before COVID, it was more getting home, go pick up this kid here from football practice, go pick up that kid over there from track and field practice. You get home, you have dinner, you kind of dwindle down the day in terms of what did you do at school, and then that was it. And so I've been fortunate enough to kind of have that, rebuild that connection and really get to see my kids' interests.
Yeah, so I know you guys talk about how you guys kind of like all grew up like in the struggle and stuff, and I think that obviously I've been blessed to like I'm way different because like I've kind of don't have that
Middle class.
experience. You know, I'm middle class, and I'm blessed to have like a dad like, you know, him here, and a mom where I don't have to grow up through that. So I think my on my side, I think mine is just kind of more motivation based around like my love and still like my want to like be successful, and they've instilled that in me. You know, I'm not learning from, you know, firsthand experience of struggling, but they've instilled like, you know, like you need to be, you know, humble and strive to be successful in school and in sports, obviously. And I think so. I think mine is a little different just because like on the sports side, I just love it. You know, I love football, and I want to be successful. I want to reach the top. You know, ideally after college, if I could enter the NFL draft and play in the NFL, that's like my goal. You know what I'm saying? And on the other side, you know, my plan B would be I think it's still a little early, but I think I want to become like a real estate agent. So like if all else fails, like going into real estate and majoring in business or in real estate development, stuff like that. But just knowing those things and knowing that, like, you know, that's what I want to do. And kind of like what all you guys have been saying, I think to me, it's motivation, but also I say it like you're hungry to like be successful. You have the hunger to want to do those things and stuff. So I think that, you know, I have those things in both the academic side or the academic side and the sports side. And yeah.
All right. That is awesome. You know, we have just a few minutes of the show, and I want to thank all the participants, everyone who listened in, and my co-host Jesus. He did an excellent job, and he has a awesome
looks like we have a
yeah, go ahead.
quick question from
Quick question.
Ed.
Okay.
Yeah, from Ed Vargas. Thank you. He says, I helped start high school tech days, STEM workshops for local high school students with the AT&T Hacemos ERG. It's now the flagship annual event for this group, bringing 2,600 students across the USA, Puerto Rico, and Mexico. I still give workshops helping high school students think through where they want to be in 5 years when I speak. Question, do any other guests mentor students, and any recommendations?
It's a great question. I will leave that to Andrew and Lory to answer, and also Leonard, if you guys mentor anyone. If so, what is the organization?
Yeah, you know, if I can speak first, I'm sorry. I'm hoping I'm not stepping on anybody's voice. I'm a member of an organization here in California called it's called CALSA, California Association of Latino Superintendents and Administrators, and I have had the honor to mentor aspiring administrators who want to become assistant principals and principals, and I've now done. They've had traditionally now 30 cohorts. In each cohort is 2 years. So I've been able to get into the cohort with our 27th and 28th cohort. And so I'm mentoring 3 aspiring administrators who are currently teachers. And my number one thing is you got to have a passion to help change the system, not change the product. The product is our students, because we often in education try to make all 100% accountability on the student and their parents and not ourselves. So I tell them, do not get into this program if you want to hold parents and students accountable for their learning. You got to be held accountable, and you have to change the system, the programs, to open opportunities. And, you know, it's worked. So I don't want to go too much into detail, but it's a 2-year cohort. I'm in my 2nd cohort as a mentor. I mentor about, on average, 3 to 4 aspiring administrators for those cohorts.
Great. All right. That's a great, well, you know, one thing I want to do is thank everyone. And, you know, mentoring is so important. And I always say it's reciprocal. If you're a mentee, always respond to your mentor and meet with your mentor virtually during this time for coffee. And before we end off, I'd like to, Ed asked the question, and he's a great friend. He's a family friend. He sent me a great gift, a book that I just received. It's Hispanic Stars Rising. And Ed, if you could take a picture, because I have great news about this book. You got it? The reason why I'm having Ed, you got it? The reason why I'm having Ed take the picture is because the person that's our next guest on February 5th, save the date, February 5th, along with Anna and Ingrid Morales out of VMware, is Jacqueline Camacho. Jacqueline Camacho is the publisher of this book, and she's authored, get this, I've authored 2 books. She's authored 23 books, and she's 36 years old. She's a cancer survivor, and she's also a pilot. So she's one of the few Latina women in the United States and the world that knows how to fly those big planes, man. so you know, this show is all about inspiration, and I'm excited. But this show today was very, very good way to start off 2021. And before we end, I'd like to thank every speaker, Jesus, and just 1 minute. I'm giving him 1 minute. A good friend, Eduardo Abachi Rodriguez, wanted to give a quick announcement. Eduardo, are you there?
Yeah, you hear me?
Yes. Okay, we're gonna go with Eduardo, and we'll end off with Jesus giving the farewell to everyone. Eduardo, if you could do 1 minute, please, because I want to respect everybody's time.
Yeah, like 1 minute short is that I grew up in Sweden when I was 5, and my parents wanted to integrate, so they moved with Swedes. And it was not one day I went to school and back and I didn't see Blackhead go home. When I was 15, I discovered one book, The History of Malcolm X. That book saved my life. Actually, the library saved my life because I had to hide from the bullies, you could say. When I was 17, I had to become tough, you know, because the environment for me was eaten or be eaten. Then I came into university later on in life, and the first day of university, I discovered that some foreign student didn't get a job. All of the Swedish, they got a job, but not them, you know. 5 years of education I had ahead. There and then I decided I will start a company. I will not ask anybody to give me a job, you know. So what I learned is that the doors are not open for us. The roof is actually there. So if the roof doesn't open or the door doesn't open, we will make the door open, or we create our own door. That is how I live, you know. So that's what I say. In 3 hours, I have to do a big conference for India. And I'm here to support Frank Carbajal and like all the Latinos that are here, actually. I stay gladly here this hour to support everybody, you know, because that's what we need to do. We need to, first of all, we need to show support between each other. Secondly, when we grow, we must give one hand down, because we will not lift each other. It's like nobody's lifting us, you know, we need to lift others. So I started Los Digitales a month ago. It's empowering, how you say, Latino influential network. So, and this is what it's all about, you know. We need to support each other, you know. So that's how I see it, you know. That's it.
Yeah, love you, brother. Eduardo, you know, you get 3 hour, 4 hours sleep. Get some sleep, because Eduardo is our brother in Norway. So he's representing, man. We got to represent across the globe. Eduardo, good luck, and send me the link for that recording. And you're awesome. Thank you.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Eduardo. Jesus, let's finish it off and wish everyone a great weekend.
Yeah, thank you, Eduardo. I'm excited to be on Los Digitales next week. So I'm looking forward for that. I've been listening to or watching your YouTube videos. Very, very good stuff. So I'm glad and honored that you would consider me for that. Thank you, everybody that's joined. Like Frank said, the 5th next month, we're going to have some more awesome guests and share some more raw stories, you know, some of the stuff that you don't see in the mainstream narrative about Latinos. So thank you again, everybody, for being here.
And lastly, everybody, Jesus will format this and provide you guys with the recording and keep us posted for that. So be on the lookout and appreciate you all. Have a blessed weekend. Thank you. Bye-bye.